The sound came first, flesh against wood, the kind of impact that cuts through every other noise in a room and leaves only silence in its wake. Marcus Reed heard it from across the diner. His hand stopped halfway to his coffee cup. 14 years of combat had taught him to recognize that sound. Violence has a signature, a rhythm, and this was just the beginning. At the center of the coastal diner, an older woman's face was pressed against a formica table. Blood began to pool around her cheek, dark red against pale blue. A young man in expensive clothes held her by the hair, grinding her face into the surface while his friends laughed and filmed on their phones. "Say you're sorry." The young man's voice carried the slurred confidence of someone who'd never faced consequences. "Say it again." "I'm sorry." The woman's voice was barely a whisper. "Please, I'm so sorry." He yanked her head up and slammed it down again. The second impact was worse than the first. Under the table, Titan went rigid, 70 pounds of German shepherd tan and black coat rippling over coiled muscle. The dog's amber eyes locked onto the young man with predator focus. A growl built in his chest, low and dangerous. Marcus didn't move yet. He was still assessing, calculating. 14 years as a Navy SEAL didn't leave you. It changed how you saw the world. Every room became a tactical situation. Every person became a potential threat or asset. 4 young people, early to mid-20s, designer clothes that cost more than his motorcycle, the kind of arrogance that came from never being told no. The woman on the floor wore a name tag that read Grace, late 50s, maybe 60, dark hair streaked with gray, pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her uniform was the pale blue of someone who'd worked the same job for decades. Blood trickled from a cut above her eyebrow. No one in the diner moved. A fisherman at the counter kept his eyes down. An elderly couple pretended to read their menus. A mother pulled her young daughter closer and whispered something about keeping quiet. Marcus had seen this before. Fear, the paralyzing kind that made good people invisible. But there was one other person watching, a man at a booth near the kitchen. 30s athletic build, despite sitting down, the kind of stillness that came from military training. His eyes were locked on the woman being brutalized. His hands gripped the table-edge knuckles white. His right leg trembled slightly. The man wanted to move. Marcus could see it in every line of his body, but something held him frozen. "Someone get me napkins." The young man snapped his fingers at Grace. "And a manager. You're buying me a new shirt." "I can't afford," Grace's voice broke. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you spilled water on me." One of his friends, a broad-shouldered kid in a polo shirt, laughed. "Dude, just let it go. She's not worth it." "She's worth exactly what I say she's worth." The young man grabbed Grace's arm and yanked her to her feet. "Now apologize to my girlfriend for making a scene." "I'm sorry," Grace whispered to the young woman with the phone. "I'm so sorry." Pathetic. The young man shoved her hard. Grace fell. She caught herself on her hands and stayed there on the linoleum floor, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. That's when Marcus stood up. The movement was slow, deliberate. The chair scraped against the floor, and the sound cut through the diner like a blade. Titan rose beside him. The dog's training was evident in every line of his body. Controlled aggression. Waiting for the command. "Let her go." Marcus's voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It carried the weight of a man who'd given orders in places where disobedience meant death. The young man turned. His eyes swept over Marcus's appearance. Leather jacket worn soft with age. Faded jeans. Boots that had walked through more than city streets. The tattoo visible on Marcus's forearm. A trident and eagle. Navy SEAL insignia. The young man's lip curled. "Who the hell are you?" "Someone who's asking nicely." Marcus took one step forward. Just one. "Let her go." "Oh, this is perfect." The young man laughed and glanced at his friends. "A biker playing hero. What did they let you out of the VA for lunch?" "I'm not going to ask again." "Or what?" The young man released Grace and squared up to Marcus. He was tall, maybe 6'1", with the build of someone who played lacrosse at an expensive prep school. But his stance was wrong, weight too far forward, hands open and untrained, amateur. "Listen, biker trash," the young man said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I don't know what dive bar you crawled out of, but around here, my family's name means something. So why don't you take your mutt and get back to whatever hole you came from before I make some calls?" Titan's growl intensified. Marcus didn't look down, but he felt the dog's readiness through the leash wrapped around his hand. One word, that's all it would take. "I'm not going to tell you again," Marcus said quietly. "Apologize to her. Pay for her medical bills and leave." "Or what?" Marcus held his gaze. "Or you're going to find out why they trained me." Something flickered in the young man's eyes. Not quite fear, not yet, but recognition that maybe, just maybe, he'd miscalculated. Then it passed. "You know what?" The young man smiled, the smile of someone who'd never lost. "I think I'd rather see what you've got." He threw the first punch. Marcus had been waiting for it. He sidestepped, caught the young man's wrist, and twisted. The motion was fluid, almost gentle, but the result was immediate. The young man's arm locked behind his back at an angle that made him cry out. Let go of me." "I asked nicely," Marcus said, applying just enough pressure to make the point. Not enough to break anything, just enough to hurt. "You should have listened." The friend in the polo shirt rushed forward. Titan intercepted him, teeth bared, forcing him back against the table. "Stay," Marcus commanded without looking. The friend froze. The other two friends, another young man and the girlfriend, with the phone scrambled backward. Both had their phones out now, recording everything. "Do you have any idea what you're doing?" The young man's voice had gone shrill. "My father will destroy you. He owns the sheriff. He owns the judges. He owns this whole goddamn county. I don't care who your father is." Marcus increased the pressure slightly. The young man whimpered. "What I care about is that woman you just assaulted. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize. You're going to give her $10,000 for medical expenses and emotional damages. And then you're going to leave this town and never come back." "You're insane." "Maybe." Marcus's voice was calm, controlled. "But I'm also the guy holding your arm. So what's it going to be?" The diner door burst open. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Two deputies rushed in, hands on their holsters, followed by a man in a khaki uniform with a silver star on his chest. Sheriff Wade Monroe was in his 50s, thick around the middle, with the weathered face of someone who'd spent too many years making bad deals. His eyes swept the scene and landed on the young man in Marcus's grip. "Mr. Blackwell, are you all right?" Marcus didn't release his hold. "Sheriff, this man assaulted that woman. I have 17 witnesses." Monroe barely glanced at Grace, still sitting on the floor with blood on her face. "Let him go, now. He committed a crime. Arrest him." "I said let him go." Monroe's hand dropped to his weapon. "Or I'll arrest you for assault." Marcus measured the situation. Two deputies, both nervous, both with hands on their guns but not drawn. The sheriff was angry but controlled. And behind it all, the young man's smirk was returning. He knew how this would go. Marcus released him anyway. "Smart move, soldier." Monroe stepped between them while the young man, Mr. Blackwell, scrambled backward, rubbing his wrist. "Now, I don't know where you're from, but around here we have a way of handling things. And it doesn't involve strangers putting their hands on respected members of the community." "Respected?" Marcus looked at Grace, still on the floor, blood dripping from her eyebrow. "He just slammed her face into a table, multiple times. Everyone saw it. I saw a clumsy waitress who tripped and fell." Monroe turned to the diner. His voice carried threat. "Anyone here see different?" Silence. The fisherman kept his eyes down. The elderly couple studied their menus with sudden intensity. Even the mother with her daughter looked away. But the man in the booth near the kitchen was staring at Marcus. Their eyes met for a brief moment. The man's jaw was clenched tight. Shame and anger warred on his face. That's what I thought. Monroe smiled at Marcus. It wasn't a friendly smile. Now I'm going to give you one chance to collect your dog and leave. Otherwise, I'm taking you in for assault, disturbing the peace, and anything else I can think of on the way to the station. Marcus felt the dog lean into him, still rigid, still watching, but waiting for the command that wouldn't come. Not here. Not now. Grace, Marcus spoke directly to the woman on the floor. Are you okay? She looked up at him with terrified eyes, her mouth open, closed. She wanted to speak. He could see it, but fear held her silent. Don't talk to her. Monroe stepped closer. Don't talk to anyone. Just get out. Marcus held Grace's gaze for a moment longer. Then he nodded slightly, a promise she probably didn't understand yet. Come on, Titan. He walked toward the door. Every step felt wrong. Everything in his training screamed to stay, to fight, to protect. But he knew something none of them did. This wasn't over. Not even close, as he passed the young Blackwell, because that's who he was. Dylan Blackwell, son of the most powerful family in Cascade Bay. The kid laughed. That's right. Walk away. Go back to whatever veteran shelter you crawled out of and play with your service dog. Leave the real world to people who matter. Marcus stopped. He turned his head just enough to meet Dylan's eyes. You assaulted that woman in front of 17 witnesses, Marcus said softly. Every word landed like a hammer. You did it while your friends filmed it, and you did it wearing clothes that cost more than most people make in a month. His voice was calm, controlled, but underneath it ran something that made Dylan's smile falter. Men like you think money makes you untouchable, but I've spent 14 years hunting men who thought they were untouchable. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. I always found them. The confidence drained from Dylan's face. Marcus walked out. The Oregon coast hit him with wind and salt spray. Titan stayed close, still alert, still ready. They crossed the parking lot to Marcus's Harley-Davidson, a 1984 Softail he'd rebuilt himself over 6 months of grief and insomnia. The dog jumped into the custom sidecar. Reinforced climate controlled everything Titan needed for long rides. Good boy, Marcus murmured, scratching behind Titan's ears. Stand down. Titan settled but didn't relax. His eyes stayed on the diner door. Marcus climbed onto the bike and sat there for a moment. His hands rested on the handlebars. They weren't shaking. They never shook anymore. But inside, something had awakened, something he'd thought he'd buried with Sarah. 9 months dead now. Cancer had taken her body over 18 brutal months. But the stress had started long before that. The calls, the threats, the collection notices that came every day, sometimes twice a day, from a lending company that charged interest rates that should have been criminal. It had taken Marcus 3 months after her death to trace those loans. 3 months of digging through shell companies and false names until he found the source. Blackwell Financial Group, owned by Victor Blackwell Sr., the same Victor Blackwell whose son had just beaten a woman in a diner, the same family that owned the sheriff, the judges, and half the county. Marcus had come to this town for a reason. He'd been watching, gathering information, waiting for the right moment. He hadn't expected it to come like this. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know who you are. Old Lighthouse Keeper's Cottage. 10 p.m. tonight. Come alone. It's about Sarah. Marcus stared at the message. Titan whined softly beside him. I know, boy, Marcus said. I know. He started the Harley and pulled out of the parking lot. In the rearview mirror, he saw Monroe and his deputies escorting Dylan to a shiny black Range Rover. Saw Grace standing in the diner doorway watching him leave. Her eyes held something he recognized. Hope. The desperate, fragile kind that came from finally seeing someone stand up. Marcus merged onto the coastal highway. The Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly to his right, gray and churning under storm clouds. Sarah had loved the ocean. She had always wanted to retire near the water. We'll get a little house, she used to say. Nothing fancy, just somewhere we can hear the waves at night. She never got that house. But Marcus was going to make sure the men responsible paid for it. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a photograph. Sarah on their wedding day, 22 years old, dark hair blowing in the wind, laughing at something he had said. She'd been a combat medic, deployed twice to Afghanistan before they'd met at a veterans support group in San Diego, the toughest person he had ever known. And Blackwell Financial had broken her. Marcus tucked the photo back into his jacket and accelerated. The Harley's engine roared, carrying him north along the coast toward the Victorian house on the cliff. Sarah's great-grandfather's place, the last piece of property her family owned. The place Marcus had come to heal. But healing would have to wait. The text message burned in his mind. It's about Sarah, someone new. Someone had been watching. And tonight Marcus would find out who. Titan settled into the sidecar, trusting his handler to navigate whatever came next. The Pacific Coast Highway stretched ahead, winding through pine forests and along cliff sides where the ocean crashed against black rocks. This part of Oregon was beautiful in a harsh way. Unforgiving. The kind of place that broke weak things and made strong things stronger. Marcus had spent 9 months here in Sarah's great-grandfather's house trying to become strong again. He'd failed. Because strength he'd learned wasn't about forgetting the war. It was about remembering why you fought. And Marcus had just remembered. The Victorian house sat on a promontory 3 miles north of Cascade Bay. Built in 1912 by Sarah's great-great-grandfather, a timber baron who'd made his fortune in the old-growth forest before conservation laws shut down the big operations. 3 stories of weathered gray shingles and white trim, a wraparound porch that overlooked the ocean. The house that had once been the pride of the Reed family, now barely standing against time and neglect. Marcus had arrived 9 months ago with nothing but Titan, a duffel bag of clothes, and a heart so broken he could barely breathe. The house had been abandoned for 20 years. Sarah's family couldn't afford to maintain it, couldn't afford to sell it either. The property was underwater on liens and back taxes. It had sat empty, slowly surrendering to the salt air and Pacific storms. Marcus had spent the first month just making it livable. New roof, fixed the plumbing, repaired the ancient furnace. The work had been good for him, physical labor that let his mind go quiet for hours at a time. But the quiet never lasted. Now he pulled the Harley into the gravel driveway and killed the engine. Titan jumped out of the sidecar and immediately began a perimeter check. Old habits from their deployments together. The dog had been with SEAL Team 6 for 4 years before retiring. Multi-purpose canine, explosives detection, patrol, attack work. After Titan's first handler was killed in Kandahar, the dog had been reassigned to Marcus. That was 6 years ago. They'd been through things together that most people couldn't imagine. Titan completed his sweep and returned to Marcus's side. Nothing. The property was secure. Inside the house smelled like wood smoke and coffee. Marcus had kept only 2 rooms furnished, the kitchen and 1 bedroom upstairs. Everything else remained empty, echoing. He went to the kitchen and spread out what he'd been gathering for the past 3 months. Files, documents, photographs, everything he could find on Blackwell Financial Group and the family that ran it. Victor Blackwell Sr., age 64, CEO and founder, built the company from nothing in 1989, just 3 years after his wife died. Started with payday loans and small cash advances. Grew into one of the largest private lending institutions on the West Coast. On paper, everything was legal. Predatory but legal. But Marcus had dug deeper. He'd found the victims, hundreds of them, families who'd taken loans for medical emergencies, home repairs, education. Families who'd been charged interest rates that compounded so fast they could never catch up. Families who'd lost everything, including Sarah. March 2024, Sarah's oncologist had recommended an experimental treatment not covered by insurance. $52,000. They didn't have it. Their savings were already gone from the first round of chemotherapy. Someone at the hospital, Marcus never found out who had given Sarah a business card. Blackwell Financial, fast approval, flexible terms. We help families in crisis. Sarah had called them without telling Marcus. She'd been trying to protect him, trying to give herself a chance without destroying their finances. By the time Marcus found out, she'd already signed the papers. $52,000 at 31.5% variable interest. Within 7 months, the debt had grown to $94,000. The calls started, the harassment, the collectors showing up at their house, at Sarah's hospital room during her treatments. They told her she was killing their future, that she was selfish, that she should just give up and stop being a burden. Sarah had died in October 2024, but she'd stopped fighting in August. The debt had killed her spirit before the cancer killed her body. Marcus had spent the last 9 months tracking the paper trail. The loan had been processed by a woman named Grace Morrison. She'd worked for Blackwell Financial from 2019 to 2021 before being terminated. The same Grace Morrison who now worked as a waitress at the Coastal Diner. The same woman Dylan Blackwell had just assaulted. Marcus looked at the photograph of Grace he'd pulled from the Blackwell Financial employee database. Younger in the photo, before whatever had broken her. His phone showed 6:47 p.m., 3 hours until the meeting at the Lighthouse Cottage. Marcus made coffee and sat at the kitchen table with Titan at his feet. Outside, the sun was setting over the Pacific, painting the clouds purple and gold. Sarah had loved these sunsets. "Promise me," she'd said in those final days, "promise me you'll find peace, not revenge." Marcus had promised, but some promises were impossible to keep. At 9:30, Marcus left the house. He took the Harley but left Titan behind. The text had said, "Come alone," and Titan's presence would be too obvious. "Guard," Marcus told the dog, pointing at the house. Titan settled on the porch alert. The lighthouse keeper's cottage was 2 miles south, accessible only by a narrow dirt road that wound through coastal pine forest. The lighthouse itself had been decommissioned in 1973, replaced by an automated beacon. The keeper's cottage had been abandoned even longer. Marcus approached carefully. No headlight, engine barely above idle. He stopped a quarter-mile out and continued on foot. The cottage appeared through the trees. Small, one-story, shake roof half collapsed. A single light burned in the window. Someone was already there. Marcus circled wide, approaching from the ocean side where the cliff dropped 200 feet to the rocks below. He moved silently. SEAL training never left you. Even after 14 years, his body remembered how to become invisible. Through the cottage window, he saw 2 figures. One was Grace Morrison. The other was an older woman he didn't recognize. Gray hair, expensive wool coat, the posture of someone who'd spent her life being listened to. Marcus checked for lookouts, for vehicles, for any sign this was a trap. Nothing. He approached the front door and knocked. Silence. Then footsteps. Grace opened the door. Up close, her face was worse than he'd thought. The cut above her eyebrow had been cleaned and bandaged, but her left eye was swelling shut. Bruises were already forming along her cheekbone. "Mr. Reed," she said quietly, "thank you for coming." "How do you know my name?" "Because I processed your wife's loan application." Her voice broke. "Because I'm the one who killed her." Marcus's hand moved toward the Sig Sauer in his jacket before he caught himself. "I think you better explain," he said. Grace stepped back. "This is Dr. Helen Carter. She's been helping me gather evidence. We've been waiting for someone like you. Someone who couldn't be bought or scared off." Marcus entered the cottage. It smelled like mold and sea air. The only furniture was a card table and 2 folding chairs. On the table sat 3 USB drives and a thick folder of documents. "Sit down," Dr. Carter said. Her voice carried authority. "What we're about to tell you will change everything." Marcus remained standing. "Start talking." Grace took a shaky breath. "I worked for Blackwell Financial for 2 years. Loan processing officer. I thought it was a legitimate company helping people in crisis. It took me 6 months to realize what we were really doing." "Which was?" Marcus asked. "Targeting the dying," Dr. Carter answered. Her voice was cold clinical. "Blackwell Financial has a proprietary algorithm that searches public records for cancer diagnoses, terminal illnesses, catastrophic medical expenses. They find people in the window between diagnosis and death, the most desperate window, when someone will sign anything. The interest rates are technically legal, Grace continued, but they're structured to guarantee default. 30%, 35%, some as high as 40%. Variable rates that can change monthly, fees buried in the fine print. By the time someone understands what they've signed, they're already drowning. Marcus felt something cold spreading through his chest. Sarah's loan. March 12th, 2024. Grace pulled out a file, Sarah's name on the tab. I processed it myself. I remember because she was so kind. She apologized for taking up my time. She brought me coffee from the waiting room. Grace's hands were shaking. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know what would happen. But 3 months later, I found out. Found out what? Marcus's voice was barely controlled. Dr. Carter handed him one of the USB drives. Internal emails. Grace downloaded them before she was fired. They show everything. Victor Blackwell personally designed the targeting system. He calls it Final Window Protocol. Find terminal patients, approve their loans immediately, then activate aggressive collection before they die. If they die before paying, the estate is liable. If they survive, they're destroyed financially. Either way, Blackwell wins. Marcus plugged the USB into his phone and started reading. The emails were worse than he'd imagined. Clinical discussions of mortality rates, calculations of how much they could extract before death, strategies for psychological pressure that stopped just short of illegal harassment. One email from Victor Blackwell to his senior staff, dated October 2023. Gentlemen, remember that our product is not money. Our product is hope. Hope is infinitely valuable to someone with no time left. Price accordingly. Marcus's hands clenched. The phone screen cracked under his grip. There's more, Dr. Carter said quietly. Show him the call recordings. Grace handed him the second USB drive. These are calls to your wife. I managed to retrieve them from the company server before my access was revoked. Marcus plugged it in, selected a file at random. November 2024. Sarah's voice weak and tired. Please, I'm doing everything I can. The treatment is taking longer than expected. The collector's voice was professional, cheerful almost. Mrs. Reed, I understand, but you signed a contract. The payment is 2 weeks overdue. If we don't receive full payment by Friday, we'll have no choice but to begin seizure proceedings against your assets. We don't have any assets. Everything went to medical bills. Well, that's unfortunate, but perhaps you should consider whether continuing treatment is really in your family's best interest. You're putting your husband through tremendous financial stress. Is that fair to him? A long silence. Then Sarah crying. What are you saying? I'm saying that sometimes the kindest thing we can do for the people we love is let go. The recording ended. Marcus stood motionless. If he moved, he would break something. If he spoke, he would lose control. There are 47 calls like that, Grace whispered. They called her every day for 3 months. They told her she was destroying your future, that she was being selfish, that she should stop treatment and do the right thing. They killed her, Dr. Carter said. Not the cancer, them. They broke her spirit and she stopped fighting. Marcus's voice came out hoarse. Why are you showing me this? Because we've tried everything else, Grace said. I went to the FBI. The case was buried. I went to the state attorney general. Nothing. I went to journalists. Victor Blackwell owns 3 newspapers and has relationships with the rest. His influence goes deep. Sheriff Monroe is on his payroll, Dr. Carter added. Judge Morrison, who handles most civil cases in this county, owes Blackwell $500,000 in campaign contributions. 2 state legislators, 1 congressman. The corruption is systematic. So why me? Marcus asked. Grace met his eyes. Because you're a Navy SEAL, because you walked into that diner this morning and did what nobody else would do, Because you don't scare easy. She paused. And because they killed your wife, you have nothing left to lose. Marcus looked at the evidence spread across the table. The USB drives, the files, 9 months of rage crystallizing into something sharp and focused. What do you want from me? Help us destroy them, Dr. Carter said simply. We have evidence. We have witnesses. We have documentation of everything they have done. But we need someone who can bring it to people who can't be bought. Someone who knows how to fight. I'm not a lawyer. No, Grace said. You're something better. You're a warrior who knows right from wrong. Marcus picked up the third USB drive. What's on this one? Names, Dr. Carter answered. 347 families destroyed by Blackwell Financial in the last 5 years. Medical histories, loan documents, collection call recordings, death certificates. She paused. Your wife was number 212. Marcus pocketed all 3 drives. I need to make a call. He stepped outside. The ocean roared below the cliff, invisible in the darkness. He dialed a number he hadn't called in 9 months. 3 rings. Reaper, that you, Commander Nolan Pierce, former SEAL Team 6, now with Naval Criminal Investigative Service. I need a favor, Marcus said. Name it. I'm sending you encrypted files. Evidence of federal racketeering, systematic fraud, predatory lending, targeting terminal patients. I need you to get it to someone at FBI who can't be bought. Silence on the line. Then, Jesus Reaper, what have you gotten into? Something that killed Sarah. Another pause. Send me everything. I'll route it through proper channels. But Marcus, you need to come in. If this is as big as you're saying, you need federal protection. Not yet. I need you to verify the evidence first. Make sure it's solid. And then what? Then I'm going to make sure everyone involved pays for what they did. Reaper, I'll call you in 72 hours. Marcus hung up and went back inside. Grace and Dr. Carter were waiting. I have contacts at NCIS, Marcus said. They'll verify your evidence and route it to the right people. But it's going to take time. Days, maybe weeks. We don't have weeks, Dr. Carter said. Grace's house is being foreclosed in 30 days. After what Dylan did today, they're going to accelerate everything. Make an example of her. Marcus looked at Grace. You took a loan from them too. She nodded. 2022, my son. He's a disabled veteran. Construction accident left him unable to work. I took a bridge loan to cover his medical expenses, $73,000. She touched her bruised face. I'm a waitress. I'll never pay it off. Your son, what's his name? Ethan. Ethan Morrison, he's 33. Marcus filed that away. How much time before they move on the house? 4 weeks, but after today. Grace touched her bruised face. Dylan won't let this go. He never does. What do you mean? Dr. Carter answered. Dylan Blackwell has assaulted 7 women in the last 4 years. We have documentation, medical records, police reports that mysteriously went nowhere, settlement agreements with massive non-disclosure clauses. He targets women who can't fight back, women with debt, women with something to lose. He's been harassing Grace for 8 months, Dr. Carter continued, ever since she tried to file a complaint about workplace conditions at Blackwell Financial. Shows up at the diner, follows her home, makes sure she knows she can't escape. Marcus felt Titan's absence. The dog would have sensed his rising anger, would have pressed against his leg to ground him. I need you to stay low, Marcus said to both women. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't talk to anyone about this. I'll handle it from here. Handle it how? Grace asked. I haven't decided yet. He gathered the USB drives and headed for the door. Mr. Reed, Grace called after him. Why are you doing this? You don't know us. Marcus stopped, turned. Someone should have helped my wife, he said quietly. Someone should have stood up and said, no, this is wrong. This stops here. But nobody did. She died thinking she was a burden, thinking she'd failed me. His voice hardened. I'm not going to make that mistake again. He walked out into the night. Behind him, through the cottage window, he could see Grace crying, Dr. Carter holding her. Marcus started the Harley and rode back to the Victorian house. The ocean was invisible in the darkness, but he could hear it, endless and patient. Titan was waiting on the porch. The dog stood as Marcus approached, tail wagging once. Good boy, Marcus said. Guard's over. Inside, he uploaded the 3 USB drives to an encrypted military server, sent them to Nolan Pierce with a message. Verify en route to clean FBI contact. Timeline is critical. We'll call in 72 hours. Then he sat at the kitchen table and opened Sarah's file again. Read every email, listen to every call recording, memorize the names of every Blackwell financial employee who'd participated in her psychological destruction. 47 calls over 3 months, 16 different collectors, all supervised by Victor Blackwell personally. At 2:17 a.m., Marcus finally closed the laptop. Titan was asleep at his feet. The house was quiet except for the wind outside and the distant crash of waves. Marcus pulled out the photograph of Sarah, studied her face in the dim light. Promise me you'll find peace, not revenge. I'm sorry, love, he whispered. I can't keep that promise. He put the photograph on the makeshift altar he had created in the corner of the kitchen. Sarah's picture, her Marine Corps combat medic badge, the folded American flag from her funeral. He added something new tonight, the flash drive containing evidence that would destroy Blackwell Financial. I'm going to make them pay, Marcus said to the photograph, to the memory, to the ghost of the woman he'd loved. Every single one of them. I promise you that. Outside, storm clouds were moving in from the Pacific. By morning, the rain would come, and Marcus Reed would begin the war he'd been preparing for since the day Sarah died. He just didn't know yet that in 72 hours he'd be the one running. Titan stirred in his sleep, dreaming of things only dogs remember. The storm drew closer, and in Cascade Bay, in a mansion on the hill, someone was already watching Marcus Reed, watching Grace Morrison, watching Dr. Helen Carter, calculating, planning. The war had already begun. Marcus just didn't know it yet, but he was about to find out. Because tomorrow morning he was going to meet someone who would change everything. Someone who'd been frozen in that diner booth, unable to move, unable to help. Someone who carried his own ghosts. Someone named Ethan Morrison. And together they would start something that couldn't be stopped. The smell of stale beer and old wood greeted Marcus as he pushed through the door of the Anchor, a veterans bar on the south end of Cascade Bay, the kind of place that didn't ask questions and didn't judge. It was 10 in the morning, too early for most people, but not for the men who gathered here. Marcus had been watching the bar for 3 days. He'd seen the pattern. A small group of veterans, maybe 8 or 10, meeting every Tuesday and Thursday morning. Coffee instead of whiskey, talking instead of drinking. Support group, informal. The kind that worked better than the official ones because there was no therapist taking notes, no a administrator checking boxes. Titan pushed through the door ahead of Marcus, tail wagging. The dog knew this place, knew what it meant. Well, look what the tide brought in. The voice came from behind the bar. A man in his 60s, gray beard, Navy anchor tattoo faded on his forearm. The owner, Jack Brennan, former gunner's mate, Vietnam. Coffee's fresh, Jack said. Group's in the back room. Marcus nodded his thanks and headed toward the back. The room was small, round table, folding chairs. 7 men sat in a rough circle, ages ranging from late 20s to mid-70s, all carrying the same weight in their eyes. The weight of having seen things, done things, lost things. They looked up as Marcus entered. Room for one more, Marcus asked. An older man, early 60s, gestured to an empty chair. Always room. I'm Frank, Korea. These ugly bastards are my brothers. Introductions went around the circle, names and wars, Vietnam, Gulf War, Iraq, Afghanistan. The geography of American conflict mapped onto aging faces. Then the last man spoke. Ethan Morrison, Marine EOD, Afghanistan. Marcus looked at him. Really looked. Early 30s, athletic build going soft around the edges, dark hair that needed cutting, blue eyes that held too much pain and too little sleep. His right leg extended awkwardly, and when he shifted, Marcus saw it. Prosthetic, and from the knee down. This was Grace's son. Marcus Reed, and he said, SEAL Team 6, multiple deployments. Ethan's eyes widened slightly. Recognition. Not of Marcus specifically, but of what SEAL Team 6 meant. The things they did, the places they went. Welcome, brother, Frank said. We were just talking about sleep, or the lack of it. Ethan was telling us about his nightmares. Ethan looked uncomfortable. I don't want to. It's okay, Frank interrupted gently. This is a safe space. We've all been there. Ethan took a breath. I dream about the blast, the IED. I'm walking point clearing a compound in Helmand province. I missed something, some small thing, a wire, a pressure plate. I don't know. Next thing I know, I'm on the ground, can't feel my leg, can't hear anything except ringing. And I keep thinking, I missed it. I missed it, and now my brothers are in danger. His hands were shaking. I wake up every night at 3:17, the exact time the blast happened. Every single night for 3 years. What do you do when you wake up? Marcus asked quietly. Ethan looked at him. I check to make sure my leg is still gone, that it wasn't a dream, that it really happened. Then I lie there until sunrise because I'm too afraid to go back to sleep. Silence around the table. I know that feeling, Marcus said. Different war, different wounds, same clock that won't stop ticking. Ethan met his eyes. Something passed between them. Recognition, understanding, the kind that only came from shared experience. My wife died 9 months ago, Marcus continued. He hadn't planned to say it, but something about this room, these men made the words come. Cancer. I was with her at the end. Held her hand, told her I loved her, promised I'd be okay. He paused. I wasn't okay. I'm still not okay. And every night at 2:30 a.m. I wake up reaching for her, expecting her to be there. And every night I remember all over again that she's gone. More silence. Then Frank spoke. What do you do after you remember? I used to just lie there, Marcus said, like Ethan, waiting for sunrise, but recently I started doing something different. What's that? Ethan asked. I started planning. Planning what? Marcus looked at Ethan. Justice. The word hung in the air. Frank cleared his throat. This group is about healing, brother, not revenge. I know the difference, Marcus said. Revenge is putting a bullet in someone's head. Justice is making sure they answer for what they did. Ethan was staring at him. You were at the diner yesterday. You're the one who stopped Dylan Blackwell. You were there too, Marcus said. I saw you, in the booth near the kitchen. Ethan's face flushed with shame. I wanted to help. I wanted to move. But I froze. Like I was back in Afghanistan. Couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My legs started shaking and I thought I was going to have a full panic attack right there. That's PTSD, one of the other veterans said. Not cowardice. Feels like cowardice, Ethan muttered. Marcus leaned forward. What do you know about your mother's situation with Blackwell Financial? Ethan's jaw clenched. I know she took a loan to help me. I know they're destroying her because of it. I know Dylan Blackwell has been harassing her for months, and I can't do anything to stop it because every time I try, I freeze up like a scared kid. You're not a kid, Marcus said. You're a Marine, EOD. You walked toward bombs while everyone else ran away. That takes a special kind of courage. Had courage, Ethan corrected bitterly. Past tense. That died in Helmand province along with my leg. No, Marcus said firmly. It didn't. It's still there. You just can't access it right now because your brain is stuck in survival mode, but I can help with that. Ethan looked skeptical. How? Because I've been where you are. After my first deployment, I had panic attacks so bad I couldn't leave my apartment. Couldn't be in crowds. Couldn't sleep without the light on. I thought I was broken. Thought I'd never be whole again. What changed? Ethan asked. I got help. Real help. And I learned something important. PTSD isn't weakness. It's your brain trying to protect you from threats that aren't there anymore. Once you understand that, you can start to retrain it. Marcus pulled out his phone. I want to show you something. He pulled up one of the audio files Grace had given him. The call recording where the Blackwell financial collector told Sarah to let go and stop being a burden. He played it. The room went absolutely silent. When it ended, Ethan's hands were clenched into fists. That's your wife. That's my wife, Marcus confirmed. And that's what Blackwell Financial does. They target dying people, pressure them psychologically, break them until they give up. He looked at Ethan. Your mother worked there. She processed these loans. She didn't know what she was doing at first, but when she found out, she tried to stop it. That's why they fired her. That's why Dylan is targeting her now, because she knows too much. Ethan stood up abruptly. His chair scraped against the floor. I need air. He walked out of the room. Marcus waited a moment, then followed. He found Ethan outside, leaning against the building, breathing hard. Classic panic attack building. Look at me, Marcus said. Ethan looked up. You're here, in Cascade Bay, in 2025. Not in Helmand Province, not in 2022. You're safe. I don't feel safe. I know, but your brain doesn't know the difference between a real threat and a remembered one, so we're going to teach it. Marcus demonstrated a breathing technique. 4 count in, hold for 4. 4 count out, hold for 4. Combat breathing, he explained. It resets your nervous system, tells your brain you're not in danger. Ethan tried it once, twice. On the third cycle, his breathing started to slow. Better, Marcus asked. Ethan nodded. Good. Now I need to ask you something, and I need you to think carefully before you answer. What? Do you want to help your mother? Of course I do. Then I need to know if you're willing to fight. Not physically, not yet, but mentally, emotionally. Are you willing to face your fear and do the hard thing anyway? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. What are you asking me to do? I'm asking you to be my partner. I'm going after Blackwell Financial, all of them. Victor, Dylan, the corrupt sheriff, the whole operation, but I can't do it alone. I need someone who knows the local terrain, someone who has skills I don't, someone who has a reason to fight. I have PTSD, Ethan said. I froze yesterday. I can't even protect my own mother. Yesterday you froze because you weren't prepared. You were ambushed by a trigger. But if I train you, if we work together, you can learn to push through it. I've seen it done. I've done it myself. Ethan looked at him. You really think I can help? I know you can. You were EOD. That means you're detail-oriented, patient, good under pressure when you have a plan. Those are exactly the skills I need. Marcus pulled out his phone again, showed Ethan a photo of the Blackwell estate. I need to get someone out of there. Someone your mother knows. Someone who has more evidence, but it's a fortress. 12 armed guards, security systems. I can handle the tactical side, but I need someone who can think like a bomb tech. Someone who can find the weakness in a system and exploit it. Ethan studied the photo. Despite himself, Marcus could see his brain engaging, the analytical part, the part that solved problems. The power comes in from the northeast, Ethan said slowly. Old infrastructure. Probably hasn't been updated since the 80s. You could create a blackout, force them onto generator power. And then, generators are loud. They'll mask other sounds, give you an infiltration window. Ethan pointed to a spot on the photo. This is the cliffside. No cameras because they assume it's inaccessible. But if you had climbing gear, he trailed off. I can't climb, not with this. He gestured to his prosthetic leg. You don't have to climb, Marcus said. You handle the tech side, I'll handle the infiltration. But I need you to be my eyes and ears, to think 3 steps ahead like you did when you were clearing explosives. Ethan was quiet again. Marcus could see him wrestling with it. Fear versus duty, safety versus purpose. Finally, Ethan spoke. My mom met you last night, didn't she? Marcus didn't answer. She came home at midnight, wouldn't tell me where she'd been, but she was different. For the first time in months, she looked hopeful. Ethan met Marcus's eyes. That was you. Your mother has been carrying a heavy burden, Marcus said. She blames herself for what happened to my wife, but she's not to blame. She's a victim too, and she's been gathering evidence to take down the people responsible. What kind of evidence? The kind that could destroy Blackwell Financial. The kind that could put Victor Blackwell and his son in federal prison for the rest of their lives. Then why hasn't she gone to the FBI? She tried. The case was buried. Victor Blackwell has connections everywhere. We need someone who can route the evidence to people who can't be bought. I have those connections, but I need time. And I need to keep your mother safe until the federal investigation can move forward. Ethan pushed off the wall. What do you need me to do? Right now, come with me. I'm going to show you what I've been working on. Then you're going to decide if you're in or out. No pressure either way. But if you're in, you're all in. Understood? Ethan nodded. Understood. Good, let's go. They went back inside. Marcus said his goodbyes to the support group, promised to come back next week. Then he and Ethan left. Titan followed at Marcus's heel. In the parking lot, Ethan stopped. I don't have a car. I take the bus. You ride with me, Marcus said, gesturing to the Harley. Ethan looked at the motorcycle, at the sidecar where Titan usually sat. I haven't been on a bike since I lost my leg. You scared? Terrified. Good. Fear means you're alive. Now get on. Ethan hesitated, then climbed on behind Marcus. Titan jumped into the sidecar. Hold on, Marcus said. He started the engine and pulled out. They rode north along the coastal highway. Wind and salt spray, the Pacific churning gray under cloudy skies. Marcus could feel Ethan's tension at first, the way he gripped the seat, the way his body stayed rigid. But gradually, mile by mile, he felt Ethan start to relax, start to lean into the turns, start to trust. By the time they reached the Victorian house, Ethan was almost smiling. They dismounted. Titan did his perimeter check. Nice place, Ethan said, looking at the house. It was my wife's, Marcus explained. Her great-great-grandfather built it. Timber money. It's been in the family for over 100 years. They went inside. Marcus led Ethan to the kitchen, spread out the files, the photographs, the documents. This is what I've been working on for 9 months, Marcus said. Everything I could find about Blackwell Financial, how they operate, who they target, how much money they've made destroying families. Ethan picked up a file, started reading. His face went pale. 347 families. That we know of, could be more. Ethan kept reading. My mom's name is in here. Her loan. They charged her 38% interest on a $73,000 loan. Because of you, Marcus said quietly, because she was trying to help her disabled veteran son. They saw that vulnerability and exploited it. Ethan's hands were shaking, but this time it wasn't from PTSD, it was from rage. They knew, he whispered. They knew she could never pay it back. They designed it that way. Yes, Ethan looked up. Show me everything. For the next 2 hours, Marcus walked Ethan through it all. The final window protocol, the targeting algorithm, the psychological pressure tactics, the 47 calls to Sarah. He showed Ethan the emails, the recordings, the financial documents that proved how much profit Blackwell made from each loan. By the end, Ethan was pacing, the prosthetic leg giving him an awkward gait, but he didn't seem to notice. We have to stop them, Ethan said. We have to, he stopped. Wait, why are you showing me this? Why not just go to the FBI yourself? I'm going to the FBI. I have a contact at NCIS who's routing the evidence to a clean agent. But federal investigations take time. Weeks, maybe months. In the meantime, your mother is in danger. Dylan Blackwell won't let yesterday go. He's going to come after her. So what's the plan? The plan is to keep her safe while the investigation builds and to gather more evidence if we can. What kind of evidence? Marcus pulled up a file on his laptop. Your mother mentioned a woman, Dr. Helen Carter, former oncologist. She was pressured to recommend that terminal patients stop expensive treatments so they wouldn't default on their Blackwell loans. She refused and was fired. Where is she now? Living alone, north side of town. She has more evidence, more testimonies from other doctors who were approached. But she's scared, won't go on record without protection. Ethan studied the screen. You think Blackwell knows about her? I know he does. My question is whether he considers her enough of a threat to act on. As if in answer, Marcus's phone buzzed, unknown number. He answered without speaking. A voice he didn't recognize. Male. Calm. Professional. Mr. Reed, my name is Jacob Cross. I'm head of security for Victor Blackwell. He'd like to speak with you. Marcus put the phone on speaker so Ethan could hear. I'm listening. A pause, then a different voice. Older, cultured, authority in every syllable. Mr. Reed, Victor Blackwell, I believe we should talk. About what? About your future and about how we can avoid unnecessary conflict. I'm not interested in avoiding conflict. A low chuckle. Yes, I gathered that from your performance at the diner yesterday. Very impressive, but also very foolish. Is there a point to this call? The point, Mr. Reed, is that you've made quite an impression on my son and on my business operations. The federal investigation your NCIS friend initiated is inconvenient. Marcus's blood went cold. How did Victor know about that? I have resources, Victor continued as if reading his mind. Considerable resources, which is why I'm calling, to offer you a way out. I don't need a way out. Everyone needs a way, wrote Mr. P. Leave Cascade Bay tonight. Take your evidence, your righteous anger, and your dog. In return, I'll personally ensure that every debt associated with your wife's treatment is forgiven. Your credit restored. A fresh start anywhere you choose. You think I came here for money? I think you came here for revenge, and I'm offering you something better. What makes you think I want better? Because you made a promise to your wife, peace, not revenge. Isn't that what she asked for? Marcus felt the room tilt. How did Victor know that those were private words, deathbed words? I do my homework, Mr. Reed, just as you've done yours. The difference is I'm offering you a choice. Walk away now, or stay and watch me destroy everything you have left. You already took everything I had. Did I? What about Grace Morrison? What about her son, the disabled veteran? What about Dr. Helen Carter? What about Deputy Kate Sullivan, who helped you with your little research project? Marcus's jaw clenched. Yes, I know about all of them, Victor said. I know who they are, where they live, what they care about. And if you continue this crusade, I will systematically destroy each one of them. Not metaphorically, literally. I will take everything they have and grind it into dust. You're threatening innocent people. I'm protecting my family and my business. There's a difference. Marcus looked at Ethan, saw the fear in his eyes, but also something else. Determination. Here's my counteroffer, Marcus said quietly. You have 72 hours to turn yourself into the FBI. You, your son, Sheriff Monroe, and everyone else involved in your operation. You cooperate fully. You establish a restitution fund for your victims. And maybe the federal prosecutor goes easy on you. Silence on the line. Then Victor laughed. You're serious. Completely. Mr. Reed, I've built an empire over 35 years. I've weathered recessions, investigations, lawsuits, and regulatory changes. What makes you think one Navy SEAL with a grudge can bring me down? Because I'm not just one SEAL. I'm a SEAL with evidence, with witnesses, with federal backing. and with absolutely nothing to lose. Everyone has something to lose. Try me. Another pause. Longer this time. You're making a mistake, Mr. Reed. Maybe, but it's mine to make. Then we have nothing more to discuss. Goodbye, Mr. Reed. I hope your principals keep you warm when you're sleeping in a cell. The line went dead. Ethan was staring at him. He knows everything about your contact at NCIS, about the investigation, about my mom and Dr. Carter, which means he has someone on the inside, Marcus said. FBI or NCIS, someone feeding him information. So what do we do? Marcus thought for a moment. We accelerate. We don't have 72 hours anymore. We have maybe 24 before Victor makes his move. His move? He's going to eliminate the threats, starting with the witnesses. Marcus grabbed his phone, started making calls. First call, Grace Morrison. She answered on the second ring. Marcus, where are you right now? At home. Why? Pack a bag. Essentials only. You're leaving in 10 minutes. What? Why? Because Victor Blackwell just threatened you. He knows you're helping me. He's going to come after you. I can't just leave. I have work. I have... Grace, listen to me. Your son is here with me. He's safe. But you won't be if you stay in that house. Pack a bag. I'm sending someone to get you. He hung up and dialed another number. Kate Sullivan. Deputy Sullivan, this is Marcus Reed. Mr. Reed, I was hoping you'd call. I have information. Not on this line. Victor Blackwell has inside sources. He knows about the investigation. Where are you? Sheriff's Station. My shift started an hour ago. Can you leave? Not without raising suspicion. Then stay there. Stay visible. Don't do anything that might flag you as compromised. I'll contact you again soon through a secure channel. What's happening? War, Marcus said simply. I'll be in touch. He hung up and looked at Ethan. I need you to do something for me. Anything. Go get your mother. Bring her here. This house is defensible. 3 floors, multiple exits. And I've already set up some basic security. You want me to protect her. I want you both safe while I handle the next part, which is making sure Dr. Carter doesn't become a target. Ethan stood. I'm coming with you. No, your mother needs you. My mother needs you to stop Victor Blackwell, and you need backup. I'm EOD. I can handle myself. You froze yesterday. Yesterday I was ambushed. Today I'm prepared. There's a difference. Marcus studied him, saw the determination, the need to prove himself. All right, but you follow my lead. No heroics. We go in, we get Dr. Carter, we bring her back here. Clean and simple. Understood. Marcus grabbed his tactical vest from the closet, checked his Sig Sauer, full magazine, one in the chamber. He tossed Ethan a Glock 19. You know how to use this Marine EOD. We trained on small arms. Good, let's go. They were halfway out the door when Marcus's phone buzzed again. Text message, unknown number. The doctor's house is already burning. You're too late. Marcus felt his stomach drop. He pulled up the emergency scanner on his phone. Fire Department dispatch. Structure fire, 847 Pinehurst Drive. Residential, multiple callers reporting flames. That was Dr. Carter's address. Go, Marcus said to Ethan. Get your mother, bring her here, lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone but me. What are you going to do? Something stupid. Marcus ran to the Harley. Titan jumped into the sidecar without being told. He fired up the engine and tore out of the driveway. 12 miles to Dr. Carter's house. He made it in 8 minutes. The glow was visible from 3 blocks away. Orange flames shooting through the roof, black smoke billowing into the gray skeeto. No fire trucks yet. Response time in this neighborhood should have been 6 minutes. It had been at least 15 since the fire started. Someone had delayed the dispatch. Marcus pulled up in front of the house, killed the engine, scanned for threats. A crowd was gathering. Neighbors in bathrobes and pajamas. Someone screaming for someone to call 911. Marcus looked at the house. Second floor left side. A window. Movement behind the smoke and flames. Dr. Carter. Trapped. Every rational part of his brain said the same thing. Structural collapse imminent. No protective gear. Suicide to enter. Marcus ignored all of it. He grabbed a jacket from his saddlebag, soaked it in water from a neighbor's garden hose, wrapped it around his head and shoulders. Tighten stay. The dog whined but obeyed. Marcus went through the front door. The heat hit him like a physical force. The living room was fully involved. Flames consuming furniture and walls. Black smoke reduced visibility to inches. Marcus dropped low, stayed below the smoke layer, crawled toward the stairs. The stairs were compromised. He could feel them shifting under his weight. He took them 3 at a time, distributing his weight to minimize stress on any single point. Second floor hallway. The smoke was worse here. Marcus couldn't see anything. It couldn't breathe. His lungs were screaming. He followed the wall, found a door, kicked it open. Dr. Carter's bedroom. She was at the window trying to open it. The frame had swollen from the heat. She was coughing, barely conscious. Dr. Carter. She turned, saw him. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Marcus crossed the room, grabbed a chair, smashed the window. Fresh air rushed in, feeding the fire behind them. The room temperature spiked instantly. We need to move. Now. He could hear the house groaning. Support beams failing. They had seconds. Marcus picked Dr. Carter up. She was heavier than she looked, but adrenaline made everything possible. He carried her to the hallway. The stairs were no longer an option. Flames had consumed the entire first floor. Only one way out. Marcus kicked open the bathroom door. Second floor bathroom, window overlooking the backyard, lower drop, maybe 15 feet. He smashed the window with his elbow, climbed onto the sill with Dr. Carter in his arms. Hold on to me. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Marcus jumped. They hit the grass hard. Marcus rolled, absorbing the impact, protecting Dr. Carter with his body. Something in his left side screamed. Probably cracked a rib. Didn't matter. He got to his feet, lifted Dr. Carter again, carried her around the house to the front yard. Titan was there immediately. The crowd had grown. Someone was shouting about an ambulance. Marcus laid Dr. Carter on the lawn. She was coughing, face covered in soot, but breathing. You're okay, he told her. Stay down, breathe. That's when the sheriff's cars arrived. 3 cruisers, lights flashing. Sheriff Wade Monroe stepped out of the lead vehicle, but the fire trucks were still nowhere to be seen. Monroe walked straight to Marcus. His face was stone. Marcus Reed, you're under arrest for 2 counts of arson and attempted murder. The words didn't make sense at first. Marcus was still processing, still coming down from the adrenaline. What? You heard me? Monroe gestured to his deputies. We have a witness who saw your motorcycle leaving Dr. Carter's residence at 2:30 a.m. We found gas cans in your saddlebags. And now here you are at the scene of the fire you set. Marcus looked at his Harley. 2 deputies were photographing the saddlebags. One of them pulled out a red gas can. Planted evidence. I just saved her life, Marcus said quietly. His voice was hoarse from smoke inhalation. Convenient story. Monroe moved closer. You assault Dylan Blackwell at the diner. You make threats. Now 2 buildings connected to the Blackwell family burned down in one night. Seems pretty clear to me. What 2 buildings? Monroe smiled. Your Victorian house. Burned to the ground at 3 a.m. Total loss. Marcus felt the ground shift under him. His house. Sarah's house. The last piece of her family's history. Gone. Turn around, Monroe said. Hands behind your back. Marcus's mind was racing. This was the play. They'd framed him perfectly. Burned his house to destroy the evidence. Burned Dr. Carter's house to eliminate a witness. And now they were arresting him for it. Where is my dog? Monroe asked. Marcus's heart rate spiked. Why, Dangerous animal attacked Dylan Blackwell this morning. Needs to be taken into custody. County Animal Control. Titan was sitting 20 feet away. The dog's eyes were locked on Monroe. One word from Marcus and Titan would attack, would take Monroe down. But there were 6 deputies, all armed, all with hands near their weapons. If Marcus gave the command, Titan would attack. The deputies would shoot. Titan would die. Marcus couldn't let that happen. Titan here. The dog came immediately, sat at Marcus's side. A deputy approached with a catch pole. Titan growled but didn't move, waiting for Marcus's command. "It's okay, boy," Marcus said softly. "Stand down." The deputy secured the catch pole around Titan's neck, led him toward an animal control van that had just arrived. Titan looked back at Marcus, confused, betrayed. Marcus felt something break inside his chest. "Turn around," Monroe said again. "Hands behind your back." Marcus complied. The handcuffs clicked tight around his wrists. "You have the right to remain silent." But Marcus wasn't listening. He was watching the animal control van drive away with Titan inside, watching Dr. Carter being loaded into an ambulance. Her eyes met his for a moment. She mouthed something. "Thank you." The Victorian house was still burning on the horizon. Marcus could see the glow against the gray sky. Sarah's house? Gone. The evidence? Gone. 10. Taken. In less than 12 hours, they destroyed everything, almost everything. Marcus still had the copies he'd uploaded to the encrypted server, still had Nolan Pierce working the federal angle. But right now, sitting in the back of Monroe's cruiser, watching the town of Cascade Bay roll past through the window, Marcus knew the truth. He'd underestimated them. That wouldn't happen again. The county jail was a low concrete building behind the courthouse, built in the 70s, never updated. Marcus was processed through booking, fingerprints, mugshot, personal effects confiscated. They put him in a holding cell by himself, 6 by 8 feet, concrete bench, steel toilet, nothing else. The door slammed shut with the sound of finality. Marcus sat on the bench and took inventory. Physical condition, minor burns on hands and forearms, possible cracked rib on left side, smoke inhalation. Nothing critical, tactical situation catastrophic. No weapons, no allies, no evidence. Framed for arson and attempted murder. Sheriff's Department completely compromised. Options extremely limited. He closed his eyes and forced himself to think. The fire at Dr. Carter's house had been set before the attack on the Victorian. That meant they'd planned both simultaneously. Coordinated operation, professional execution, someone with military or intelligence training. Jacob Cross had to be. Victor Blackwell's head of security, former Delta Force. This was a message. You came after our family. We'll destroy everything you have. But they'd made one mistake. They'd let Dr. Carter live, and they'd let Marcus live. That meant Victor wanted him alive, wanted him discredited and imprisoned. A convicted felon's testimony would be worthless in court. Smart, but not smart enough. Marcus had 72 hours before his check-in call with Nolan Pierce. If he didn't make that call, Nolan would know something was wrong, would start asking questions. Marcus just had to survive 72 hours in a jail controlled by a corrupt sheriff. He'd survive worse. The hours crawled past. No food, no water, no contact. At 6 a.m., footsteps in the corridor. The cell door opened. A young woman in a deputy's uniform stood there. Blonde, athletic build, maybe 30 years old. Her nameplate read Sullivan. "On your feet," she said. "Come with me." Marcus stood. "Where?" "Interrogation." She led him through the corridor, but instead of turning toward the interrogation room, she turned toward the evidence locker. "What's going on?" Marcus asked. Deputy Sullivan stopped, looked both ways, then met his eyes. "I'm getting you out of here. We have 4 minutes before shift change." Marcus studied her face, looking for the trap, the angle. "Why would you do that?" Because I watched the security footage from the diner. I saw what Dylan Blackwell did to Grace Morrison. I saw Sheriff Monroe cover it up. Her voice was tight with controlled anger. And because my father lost his farm to Blackwell Financial 3 years ago, took a bridge loan during a drought, couldn't make the payments when the interest spiked, Victor Blackwell foreclosed. She pulled out a key ring, started unlocking the evidence locker. My father killed himself in his barn 6 months later. I found him. Her hand shook slightly. I became a deputy because I thought I could change the system from the inside. I was wrong. The system is rotten all the way through. She handed Marcus his personal effects. Phone, wallet, keys. Your motorcycle is in the impound lot, 2 blocks west. I left the gate unlocked. What about Titan? Animal control facility is across town. I can't help you there. Not enough time. Marcus pocketed his belongings. They'll know you helped me. I know. Deputy Sullivan Kate, her first name was Kate, met his eyes. I don't care anymore. I'm done being complicit. She led him through a service corridor, out a back door into the pre-dawn darkness. Go, now. Why should I trust you? Kate pulled out her phone. Showed him a video file. I've been recording Sheriff Monroe's calls for 8 months. I have him on tape coordinating with Victor Blackwell, discussing payoffs, covering up crimes. She forwarded the file to Marcus's phone. That's your insurance. Now go before the shift changes. Marcus ran. 2 blocks west. The impound lot gate was indeed unlocked. His Harley sat in the corner. They'd searched the saddlebags, scattered his tools, but the bike was intact. He fired it up and rode. No destination in mind yet, just away. East into the mountains where the roads became logging trails and the cell coverage disappeared. He found an abandoned hunting cabin 15 miles into the national forest. Checked it for occupants. Empty. Marcus secured the perimeter and allowed himself to think. Kate Sullivan had given him a gift. Audio evidence of Monroe's corruption. That was leverage. But Titan was still in animal control, and Marcus knew what would happen if he didn't act fast. Monroe would have the dog put down. Dangerous animal, attacked multiple people. Standard procedure. Marcus checked his phone. The audio file Kate had sent was damning. Monroe discussing payments with Victor Blackwell, coordinating the frame job, planning the fires. He listened to it 3 times, memorizing every word. Then he called Nolan Pierce. Reaper, where the hell are you? I've been trying to reach you for 6 hours. I need 2 things, Marcus said. First, did you verify the evidence I sent? Yes, it's solid. RICO case, systematic fraud. I forwarded it to an FBI agent I trust, Catherine Ross, Financial Crimes Division out of Seattle. She's clean. She's interested. How long until she can move? She needs to build the case properly. Subpoenas, warrants, maybe 2 weeks. I don't have 2 weeks. And Marcus explained the situation. The fires, the frame job, his escape. Nolan was silent for a long moment. Jesus Christ, Reaper. You're a fugitive now. I know. Come in. Turn yourself in to the FBI. We'll protect you. They have my dog in animal control. Monroe's going to have him killed today. I can't leave him. Marcus, Nolan caught himself. Listen to me. If you go after that dog, they'll catch you. They'll kill you, or worse, they'll make sure you never see daylight again. I can't leave him. Silence. What do you need? Nolan finally asked. Intel. Everything you can find on Victor Blackwell's head of security. Jacob Cross, former Delta Force. I need to know his patterns, his training, his weaknesses. You're going after him. I'm going after all of them. But I need my dog first. This is insane. This is war, and I didn't start it. Nolan sighed. I'll send you what I have on Cross, but Marcus, be smart. These people have resources. They have reach. You're one man. One man is all it takes if he knows what he's doing. Marcus hung up. 30 seconds later, his phone buzzed. Encrypted file from Nolan, Jacob Cross, service record, Delta Force, 8 years. Specialized in direct action and protective services. Deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. Multiple commendations. Medically retired after taking shrapnel to the leg in Mosul. Current employment, Blackwell Security Consulting. Personal protection and special projects for Victor Blackwell. Translation, Victor's enforcer. Marcus studied the file, looking for patterns, habits, anything he could exploit. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered without speaking. Mr. Reed. The voice was male, older, cultured. My name is Victor Blackwell. I believe we should talk. Marcus said nothing. Let the silence work. Still there, Mr. Reed. Victor's voice held amusement. Or should I call you Reaper? That was your call sign, wasn't it? SEAL Team 6. Quite the reputation. What do you want, Victor? Direct. I appreciate that. What I want is simple. I want you to understand your situation clearly before you make any more mistakes. I'm listening. Good. Here's your situation. You're a fugitive, wanted for 2 counts of arson and attempted murder. Every law enforcement agency in Oregon is looking for you. You have no evidence since your house and all your files burned. You have no allies since anyone who helps you becomes an accessory, and you have no leverage. Victor paused. Except for one thing, your dog. Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. Yes, I know Titan is important to you. Combat veteran. Saved your life in Afghanistan. Been with you for 6 years. The only family you have left since Sarah died. The way Victor said Sarah's name made Marcus want to reach through the phone. Here's my offer, Victor continued. Turn yourself in, confess to the arson charges. Sign a statement admitting you fabricated evidence against my company. Do this, and I'll make sure your dog is released to a veterans rescue organization. He'll live out his days somewhere safe. And if I don't, then Sheriff Monroe will have him euthanized this afternoon. Dangerous animal, attacked multiple people. County policy. Marcus closed his eyes, forced himself to breathe. You have until 6 p.m., Victor said. Sheriff's station. Walk in the front door with your hands up, or your dog dies. Your choice, Mr. Reed. The line went dead. Marcus sat in the silence of the hunting cabin. His mind was racing through options. Scenarios, tactical approaches, all of them ended badly. He couldn't turn himself in. That would mean abandoning Grace, Ethan, Dr. Carter, everyone who had trusted him, everyone who had given him evidence at great personal risk. But he couldn't let Titan die. The dog had saved his life, had been there through Sarah's illness, through the grief, through the long nights when Marcus had seriously considered eating his gun. Titan wasn't just a doom, he was a brother. Marcus's phone buzzed. Text message from a number he recognized. Ethan Morrison. Got my mom. We're at your house. Doors locked. What's happening? Marcus typed back. Victorian, house burned. I'm wanted for arson. Don't open the door for anyone. Response came immediately. What do you need? Marcus stared at the message. What did he need? He needed backup. He needed someone local who knew the terrain. Someone with military training who could think tactically. Someone like Ethan. But Ethan had PTSD, had frozen in the diner. Could he be trusted in a high-stress situation? Marcus thought about their conversation at the Anchor, about the way Ethan had analyzed the Blackwell estate photo, the way his EOD training had kicked in despite his fear. Marines didn't quit, even broken ones. Marcus typed, "Can you drive? Yes. Why I need eyes on the animal control facility. Don't get close, just observe and report." On it, Marcus sent him the address. Then he opened the audio file Kate Sullivan had sent. Sheriff Monroe's voice recorded 8 months ago. The Reed situation is more problematic than anticipated. How do you want me to handle it? Victor Blackwell's voice. How long can you hold him without charges? 72 hours legally, but I can stretch it if needed. Do that. In the meantime, eliminate the evidence, the witnesses. Make sure nothing leads back to us. What about the dog? Euthanize it today. I want no loose ends. Marcus listened 3 more times, memorizing inflections, background sounds, anything that might be useful. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He called his old platoon commander, Lieutenant Commander Richard Hayes, retired now, living in Portland. Last Marcus had heard Hayes was consulting for private military contractors. Read that, really you. Sir, haven't heard from you in 3 years. Figured you'd gone dark permanently after Sarah passed. I did, but I need a favor. Name it. Marcus explained the situation, briefly, efficiently, the way they'd been trained to brief. Hayes was quiet when he finished. So you're wanted for arson. You've pissed off a billionaire with political connections. You're planning to break into a secure facility to rescue your dog. And then what? Start a war with the entire Oregon law enforcement establishment. Something like that. Hayes laughed. Sounds like Tuesday. I need equipment, body armor, night vision, communications gear, and I need it delivered to these coordinates within 6 hours. Marcus read off the GPS location of the hunting cabin. That's a tall order, Reed. I know, but you said if I ever needed anything. I did, and I meant it. You saved my life in Ramadi. I don't forget debts. Hayes paused. But this is going to cost you. Not money. Information. When this is over, you're going to tell me everything. Who these people are. What they did. Because if they're as dirty as you're saying, there might be federal contracting opportunities here. Deal. Equipment will be there by 1400 hours. Anything else? Yeah, do you still have contacts at FBI? A few. Why? I need someone to run interference. Someone who can make sure Agent Catherine Ross in Seattle gets my evidence without it being intercepted by Blackwell's people. I'll just make some calls, but Reed, listen to me. What you're planning is suicide. Even if you get your dog out, even if you somehow escape, you're going to be hunted. You can't win this fight. I don't need to win. I just need to survive long enough for the evidence to matter. 72 hours? 60 now. Then you better move fast. Equipment incoming. Stay alive, sailor. The line went dead. Marcus checked his watch. 10:47 a.m. Titan would be put down at 6 p.m. unless Marcus turned himself in. That gave him 7 hours. His phone buzzed. Ethan, at Animal Control. 3 vehicles in lot. 2 civilian, 1 county van. Building a single-story cinder block chain link fence. 2 cameras on corners. Guard at front desk, visible through window. Marcus typed how many people inside. Can't tell, but I heard barking. Multiple dogs. Stay there, keep watching. Let me know if anything changes. Copy. Marcus pulled out his tactical planning notebook. Started sketching, animal control facility, single story, limited exits, security cameras, unknown number of hostiles. This wasn't going to be a stealth operation. Too many variables, too much that could go wrong. It needed to be fast, overwhelming, get in, get tight, and get out before anyone could respond. But he couldn't do it alone. He needed Ethan. And probably Grace, too, if she had the skills Kate Sullivan mentioned. His phone rang. Kate Sullivan. Mr. Reed, I assume you made it out safely. I did, thank you. Don't thank me yet. Monroe knows I helped you. I've been placed on administrative leave pending investigation, which means I have nothing left to lose. I'm sorry. Don't be. I should have done this months ago. Kate paused. I want to help. Whatever you're planning, I want in. Why? Because my father deserved better. Because Grace Morrison deserves better. Because every person Blackwell Financial has destroyed deserves justice. Marcus considered. Kate had law enforcement training, knew the local systems, had inside information on Monroe's operation. Can you get me blueprints of the animal control facility? Already done. Sending them now. Marcus's phone pinged. PDF file, detailed floor plans. You're good at this. I've been planning my own operation for months. Just didn't have the courage to execute. But you changed that. Yesterday at the diner, you showed me what courage looks like. That wasn't courage. That was anger. Sometimes they're the same thing. What do you need from me? Marcus studied the blueprints. How many staff work at animal control on a typical Tuesday? Three, two animal control officers and one admin. But Monroe will have added security, probably two deputies. Armed, definitely. Then I need a diversion, something that pulls Monroe's attention away from the facility between 5:30 and 6 p.m. What kind of diversion? Big enough to require all available units, but not big enough to cause actual harm. Kate was quiet for a moment. I have an idea. There's a warehouse on the south end of town, abandoned, owned by a shell company that traces back to Blackwell Financial. If it caught fire, Monroe would have to respond, too visible to ignore. Would anyone be hurt? No, it's been empty for 2 years. Can you make it happen? Yes, but Reed, if I do this, I'm all in. I'm burning my bridges. Literally. I know. And I can't promise we'll win this. I don't need promises. I need purpose. And for the first time in months, I have it. Then we move at 17:30. The warehouse fire starts. Monroe responds. I go in for Titan. What about after? Where do you go? I'll figure that out when I get there. You need a safe house, somewhere off grid. I know a place, cabin in the mountains. Belongs to my uncle. He's in Alaska. Won't be back for months. She sent coordinates. Thank you, Kate. Thank me when this is over. And Reed, be careful. Monroe won't just arrest you if he catches you again. Blackwell gave him orders. You're to be shot on sight. Fleeing suspect, resisting arrest. He'll make it look clean. I'd expect nothing less. Marcus hung up and texted Ethan change of plans. Meet me at these coordinates. He sent the hunting cabin location. What about my mom? Bring her. We need all hands on our way. Marcus spent the next 2 hours preparing. He cleaned his weapons, checked his ammunition, studied the animal control blueprints until he had them memorized. At 1400 hours exactly on schedule, a black SUV pulled up to the hunting cabin. Hayes's delivery. A man in his 40s stepped out. Former military written all over him. He handed Marcus a duffel bag without a word. Inside, tactical vest with ceramic plates, night vision goggles, tactical radio with 3 extra handsets, flashbangs, smoke grenades, zip ties, medical kit. Everything he'd need. Hayes says good hunting, the man said. Then he got back into the SUV and drove away. Marcus was loading the gear when he heard a vehicle approaching. He moved to the window, hand on his weapon, but it was Ethan's pickup truck. Grace in the passenger seat. They parked and came inside. Grace looked older than her 58 years. The bruises on her face had darkened overnight, but her eyes were clear, determined. Mr. Reed, she said, Ethan told me what you're planning. It's insane. I know. I want to help. Marcus looked at her. You've already helped. You gave me the evidence. That's enough. No, it's not. I've been running from Blackwell for 2 years, hiding, scared, watching him destroy people and doing nothing. Her voice hardened. I'm done running. I'm done hiding. Tell me what you need. Ethan stepped forward. We're both in, whatever it takes. Marcus studied them. A disabled veteran with PTSD and a 58-year-old waitress with a face full of bruises. Not exactly an A-team. But they had something more important than elite training. They had motivation. They had skin in the game, and sometimes that was enough. All right, Marcus said. Here's the plan. He spread the blueprints on the table, explained the timeline, the diversion, the extraction. Kate Sullivan will start the warehouse fire at 17:30. That pulls Monroe and most of his deputies south. At 17:45, we hit animal control. 3 of us, fast and hard. He pointed to Grace. You're the getaway driver. Engine running, eyes on the street. Anything goes wrong, you leave without us. I'm not leaving my son. If we get caught, you're the only one who can get the evidence to the FBI. That's more important than any of us. Grace reluctantly nodded. Ethan, you're with me. We go in through the back entrance here. Marcus pointed to the blueprint. There's a door that leads to the kennel area. You were EOD. Can you pick a lock? Basic commercial lock, yeah. Good, we get inside. Locate Titan. Extract. Total time inside the building 90 seconds maximum. What if there are deputies inside? Then we adapt. But our goal is to avoid contact. This is a rescue operation, not an assault. Marcus looked at both of them. I need to be clear about something. What we're doing is illegal. Breaking and entering. Theft of county property. If we're caught, we're going to prison. You need to understand that before we start. I understand, Ethan said. Grace nodded. I've already lost everything that matters. Prison doesn't scare me anymore. Then we go at 17:30. They spent the next 3 hours rehearsing. Marcus drilled them on hand signals, communications protocols, what to do if they were separated. Ethan struggled at first. The stress triggered his PTSD twice, but each time Marcus walked him through the breathing exercises, grounded him in the present. By the third run-through, Ethan was moving smoother, more confident. Grace surprised Marcus. She'd been an EMT before becoming a waitress, had training in crisis response. She was calm under pressure, methodical. At 1700, they loaded into Ethan's truck. Marcus in the passenger seat, Ethan driving, Grace in the back with the gear. They drove toward Cascade Bay in silence. Marcus's phone buzzed. Kate Sullivan. Warehouse is prepped. I'm in position. On your signal. Marcus typed back 17:30. Not a minute before. Copy. Good luck. They parked 2 blocks from the animal control facility. Same spot where Marcus had left his Harley earlier. The Harley was gone. Impounded again, probably. Marcus distributed the tactical radios. Test. Copy, Ethan said into his handset. Copy, Grace confirmed. Remember, we communicate in whispers only. If you have to shout, we've already failed. Marcus checked his watch. 17:25. 5 minutes. He looked at Ethan. You ready? Ethan nodded, but Marcus could see the tremor in his hands. Look at me, Marcus said quietly. You're not in Helmand Province. You're not walking point on a patrol. You're here with me. Your mom is safe behind us, and we're going to get my dog and get out. Simple mission. We've done harder things before. Ethan took a breath. Yeah, we have. Good. Now let's move. At exactly 17:30, Marcus's phone lit up. Kate fire started. Monroe is en route with 4 units. Marcus watched through binoculars as fire trucks screamed past, heading south. Sheriff's cruisers following. That's our window. Let's go. They moved quickly but quietly. Marcus and Ethan approached from the rear. Grace stayed with the truck engine running. The back door was exactly where the blueprint showed. Commercial deadbolt. Nothing fancy. Ethan pulled out his lockpick set. Marcus had given him the tools from Hayes' delivery. 60 seconds, Marcus whispered. Ethan's hands were shaking. He dropped the tension wrench twice. Breathe, Marcus said. You've got this. Ethan closed his eyes, did the breathing exercise, opened them again. This time his hands were steady. The lock clicked open in 40 seconds. They slipped inside. The kennel area was exactly as the blueprint showed. 2 rows of chain-link cages, dogs barking, the smell of animals and disinfectant. Marcus moved down the row, checking each cage. And there he was. Titan. The German Shepherd was in the last cage, lying down. But the moment he saw Marcus, he was on his feet, tail wagging, a low whine of recognition. Hey, boy, Marcus whispered. I've got you. The cage had a simple latch. Marcus opened it. Titan bounded out and pressed against his leg. Good boy. Stay close. That's when they heard footsteps. Someone was coming from the front office. Marcus signaled Ethan hide. They ducked behind a row of metal shelving. Titan stayed silent beside Marcus, well-trained even in stress. The door opened. A deputy stepped through. Young, maybe 25. Hand on his weapon, but not drawn. He was doing a routine check. Marcus held his breath. If the deputy saw the empty cage, he'd sound the alarm. The deputy walked down the row, checking each cage, getting closer, 10 feet away, 5 feet. He stopped at Titan's cage, saw it was empty. What the? Marcus moved, fast and silent. He wrapped his arm around the deputy's neck in a rear naked choke, applied pressure to the carotid arteries. The deputy struggled for 8 seconds, then went limp. Marcus lowered him to the ground, checked his pulse. Still alive, just unconscious. Zip ties, Marcus whispered. Ethan handed them over. Marcus secured the deputy's hands and feet, gagged him with his own radio strap. Let's move. They headed for the back door, were 3 steps from freedom when they heard it. A vehicle pulling into the parking lot. Marcus looked through the small window in the door. Sheriff Monroe's cruiser. He'd come back early. Damn, Marcus breathed. What do we do? Ethan whispered. Marcus thought fast. They couldn't go out the back. Monroe would see them, couldn't stay inside. The unconscious deputy would be discovered soon. Only one option. We go through him. What? Monroe doesn't know we're here yet. We go out the front, fast and aggressive, before he has time to react. Marcus pulled out 2 flashbangs from his tactical vest, handed one to Ethan. When we hit the front office, you throw this through the front door. I'll go out right behind it. You follow with Titan. Grace picks us up at the corner. Got it. Ethan looked terrified, but he nodded. They moved through the facility, past the front desk. The admin worker had left hours ago. Marcus positioned himself at the front door. Monroe was getting out of his cruiser, walking toward the entrance. On my mark, Marcus whispered. 3, 2, 1, mark. Ethan threw the flashbang through the glass door. It detonated with a brilliant flash and deafening bang. Monroe went down disoriented. Marcus burst through the door, Titan at his heels, Ethan right behind. They ran. Behind them, Monroe was shouting into his radio. All units, suspects fleeing animal control on foot. Armed and dangerous. Shoot on sight. Grace's truck screeched around the corner. The passenger door flew open. Get in. Acht arms. Twice. Marcus, Ethan, and Titan piled into the truck. Grace hit the gas before the door was fully closed. They tore down the street. Behind them, Monroe's cruiser gave chase. Lights flashing, siren wailing. Where do I go? Grace shouted. Highway north, Marcus said. Fast as you can. Grace drove like she was possessed, weaving through traffic, running red lights, the truck's engine screaming. Monroe stayed right behind them. Then another cruiser joined the chase, then another. They're boxing us in, Ethan said. Marcus looked at the GPS on his phone. They were 3 miles from the highway. If they could make it to the national forest roads, they could lose the cruisers. But 3 more sheriff's vehicles were ahead of them, setting up a roadblock. They were trapped. Grace, when I say go, you're going to slam the brakes, hard as you can. What? Just trust me. Ethan, brace yourself. Marcus waited. The roadblock was 100 yards ahead. Monroe was 50 yards behind. 50 feet from the roadblock, Marcus shouted, now! Grace slammed the brakes. The truck's tires screamed. The rear end fishtailed. Monroe couldn't react in time. His cruiser slammed into the back of the truck. The impact jolted everyone forward. But Grace had been ready. She kept control, go left into the alley. Grace cranked the wheel. The truck jumped the curb and shot into a narrow alley between 2 buildings. The sheriff's cruisers were too wide. They couldn't follow. Keep going, Marcus directed. Next right, then left on Ocean Avenue. Grace navigated the maze of back streets like she'd been doing it her whole life. Within 3 minutes, they'd lost the pursuit. Head for the coordinates Kate sent, Marcus said. The safe house. Grace nodded, breathing hard. Is everyone okay? We're good, Ethan said. His voice was shaking, but there was something else in it too. Exhilaration. Marcus looked at him. You did good back there. The lock, the flashbang. You pushed through the fear. Ethan smiled. Yeah, I did. Titan was pressed against Marcus in the cramped cab. The dog's presence was grounding, familiar. Good boy, Marcus murmured. We're going home. They drove north for an hour, up into the mountains. The roads got narrower, more remote. Finally, they reached the coordinates. A cabin in a clearing, old but well-maintained. Solar panels on the roof, a well nearby. This is it, Grace said. They unloaded and went inside. The cabin was simple. 2 bedrooms, a main room with a fireplace, no electricity except from the solar panels. No running water except from the well. But it was defensible. Remote. Safe. For now. Marcus checked his watch. 1947. His phone had been buzzing nonstop. He finally looked at it. 17 missed calls from unknown numbers. Probably Monroe. But there was one call he recognized. Nolan Pierce. He stepped outside to call back. Reaper, please tell me you didn't just break into a county facility and assault a deputy. I didn't assault him. I subdued him. There's a difference. Jesus Christ. Every law enforcement agency in the state is looking for you. There's a BOLO out. They're calling you armed and extremely dangerous. I am armed and extremely dangerous. This isn't funny. You just made yourself public enemy #1. Did you get the evidence to Agent Ross? Yes, she's reviewing it now. But Marcus, it doesn't matter how good the evidence is if you're dead or in prison before she can act. How long does she need? Minimum 72 hours to get warrants. Probably longer. Then I need to stay free for 72 hours. That's impossible. They have your description, your vehicle, your known associates. There's nowhere you can hide. I'll figure something out. Marcus, listen to me. Turn yourself in. Do it properly through Agent Ross. She can arrange protective custody, federal facility away from Monroe and Blackwell. And what happens to Grace Morrison, to Ethan, to Dr. Carter? Blackwell will kill them the moment I'm in custody. We can protect them too. Like you protected me. Someone in your chain of command is feeding information to Blackwell. Until we know who, I can't trust the system. Silence on the line. You're right, Nolan finally said. There is a leak. Agent Ross is running an internal investigation. But that takes time. Time I don't have. What else can you give me? I pulled Jacob Cross's file. Full workup. He lives alone. Apartment downtown. Predictable schedule. Gym every morning at 0500. Coffee at the same place every day. Classic operator tradecraft. Routine gives him control. Send me everything. Address, schedule, known associates. Marcus don't go after Cross. He's not like the others. He's a professional. Delta Force trained. He's at least as good as you, maybe better. Then it should be an interesting fight. This isn't a game. No, it's war. And I didn't start it, but I'm damn sure going to finish it. Marcus hung up. When he went back inside, Grace and Ethan were setting up a makeshift command center. Maps spread on the table. Laptops open. The USB drives plugged in. We've been going through the evidence, Grace said. There's something you need to see. She pulled up an email chain. Victor Blackwell to Jacob Cross, dated 3 days ago. Subject: the seal problem. Jacob, the situation with Marcus Reed is escalating beyond acceptable parameters. He has evidence. He has witnesses. And now he has federal attention. We need to eliminate this threat permanently. Approved actions. Burn his residence and all physical evidence 2. Frame him for arson 3. Eliminate any witnesses who could corroborate his story 4. If opportunity presents, eliminate Reed himself. Make it look like accidents, natural causes, nothing that draws federal scrutiny. Timeline 48 hours. Budget unlimited VB. Marcus read it twice. When was this sent? 3 days ago, Grace said. Which means, which means my house burning wasn't reactive, Marcus finished. It was planned. They were always going to destroy me. I just gave them an excuse to accelerate. There's more, Ethan said. He pulled up another file, a spreadsheet. Financial records. Grace was able to decrypt them using her old employee login. Blackwell didn't change the passwords after he fired her. The spreadsheet showed wire transfers, dozens of them, from Blackwell Financial to various shell companies and individuals. $50,000 to Sheriff Wade Monroe, $25,000 to Judge Patricia Morrison, $100,000 to State Senator Richard Keller, $75,000 to Congressman Thomas Brennan. The list went on, dozens of names, hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes. This is the corruption network, Grace said. Everyone Blackwell owns, everyone who helps him operate. Marcus studied the list. This is good, really good. Agent Ross can use this. There's one more thing, Grace said quietly. She pulled up a final file. Security footage from the Blackwell estate from last night. She hit play. The video showed the front entrance of the estate. Dylan Blackwell's Range Rover pulling up. Dylan getting out stumbling, clearly intoxicated. Then the audio kicked in. Dylan shouting at someone off camera. Don't care what you say. I'm sick of you controlling everything. Sick of you making me feel worthless. Victor Blackwell's voice calm and cold. You are worthless. You're a disappointment, a liability. The only reason I haven't disowned you is because it would reflect poorly on the family name. I hate you. The feeling is mutual now. Go sleep it off before you embarrass me further. Dylan crying now. Why can't you just love me? I'm your son. You're a mistake. Your mother left because of you. Because you were weak. Just like you are now. A long pause, then Dylan's voice small and broken. I'll prove it to you. I'll prove I'm strong. I'll do whatever it takes. You'll do nothing except what I tell you. Now get out of my sight. The video ended. Marcus sat back. Where did you get this? I still have access to the estate security system, Grace said. From when I worked there doing quarterly financial audits, Victor never revoked my credentials. I've been downloading footage for months, building a file. Marcus looked at her with new respect. You've been planning this for a long time. 2 years, since I figured out what they were really doing. I tried the legal route. When that failed, I started gathering ammunition for something else. I didn't know what, but I knew eventually someone would come along who could use it. And you think that's me? I know it is. You're the first person who's actually who hasn't been scared off or bought off or killed. Marcus's phone buzzed. Text from Kate Sullivan. Monroe just put out an Op-B. You're now classified as a terrorist threat. Federal agencies have been notified. FBI, FDHS. They're treating this as a manhunt. Marcus showed the others. We need to move faster, Ethan said. If the feds get involved, we lose our window. Agreed. Grace, can you send everything we have to Agent Ross? Every file, every email, every recording, every piece of evidence. Already done. Sent it 20 minutes ago through an encrypted channel. Good. Now we need to do something they won't expect. Which is, Ethan asked. Marcus smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. We go on the offensive. We stop running and start hunting. Hunting who? Jacob Cross, Victor's enforcer, the man who burned my house, who's been coordinating the whole operation against us. Grace looked worried. Marcus Cross is Delta Force. He has resources, a team. You can't just... I'm not going to kill him, Marcus interrupted. I'm going to capture him, and I'm going to make him give testimony against Victor Blackwell. How? By doing what I do best, by being better at this than he is. Marcus pulled up the file Nolan had sent. Cross's address, schedule, patterns. He goes to the gym every morning at 5 a.m. Same gym, same routine, Predictable. That's his weakness. So we grab him at the gym? Ethan asked. No, too many witnesses. We wait until he leaves, follow him home, take him at his apartment. Winklo, Marcus checked his watch. Tomorrow morning, 05:30. We have 12 hours to prepare. They spent the night planning. Marcus drilled Ethan on close quarters combat techniques, taught him the basics of tactical entry, how to clear a room, how to secure a prisoner. Grace worked on the evidence, cross-referencing files, building an ironclad case that Agent Ross could present to a grand jury. At 3 o'clock, they loaded into the truck. Marcus had night vision, zip ties, sedatives from the medical kit, everything they needed for a snatch and grab. The drive back to Cascade Bay took an hour. They parked 3 blocks from Cross's apartment building, a modern structure near downtown, security cameras, key card entry. Same as before, Marcus said. Grace, you're our getaway. Engine running, eyes on the street. Be careful, Grace said. Marcus and Ethan approached the building. Marcus had studied the layout from public records. Fire escape on the east side, access to the 3rd floor where Cross lived. They went up the fire escape in darkness, their movements silent, professional. At Cross's window, Marcus paused. Listen. Inside, he could hear movement, someone getting ready for the day. Cross was up, getting dressed for the gym. Perfect. Marcus picked the window lock. Old building, cheap hardware, took him 30 seconds. They slipped inside. Cross's apartment was exactly what Marcus expected. Minimalist, clean, everything in its place. The home of a professional who lived alone and liked it that way. They moved through the living room, toward the bedroom. Cross emerged from the bathroom, towel around his waist. Didn't see them at first. Then he did. His reaction was instantaneous. He dove for the nightstand where his gun was. Marcus was faster. He tackled Cross before he could reach the weapon. They went down hard. Cross was good, really good. He transitioned immediately into a grappling position, trying to get leverage. But Marcus had size and momentum. He got Cross in a headlock, applied pressure. Cross struggled for 15 seconds, then went limp. Ethan secured him with zip ties, hands behind his back, ankles together. Clear, Marcus said. They searched the apartment quickly, found Cross's laptop, his phone, files, documentation. Jackpot, Ethan said, holding up a folder marked Blackwell Confidential. Inside were contracts, payment records, operational plans for the attacks on Marcus's house and Dr. Carter's residence. Everything they needed. Marcus injected Cross with a mild sedative, enough to keep him compliant but conscious. They wrapped him in a blanket, made it look like they were helping a drunk friend, carried him down the fire escape to the street. Grace pulled up. They loaded Cross into the truck bed, covered him with a tarp. Go, Marcus said. Grace drove, fast but not recklessly. They couldn't afford to get pulled over. Back at the cabin, they secured Cross in one of the bedrooms, tied to a chair, still sedated but starting to wake up. Marcus sat across from him, waiting. Cross's eyes fluttered open, focused, immediately assessed the situation. Reed, he said. His voice was calm, professional. Figured you'd come eventually. We need to talk. About what? About Victor Blackwell? About the crimes you've committed on his behalf? About the testimony you're going to give to the FBI? Cross laughed. You think I'm going to turn on Victor? You don't know how this works. I know exactly how it works. You're a mercenary. You work for money. Victor pays you well, but he's going down, with or without your cooperation. The only question is whether you go down with him. Victor has resources you can't imagine, lawyers, politicians, judges. He's untouchable. Not anymore. We have evidence, emails, financial records, recordings, enough to put him away for life, and you're implicated in all of it. Marcus leaned forward. So here's your choice. You cooperate, you testify, You help us build the case. In exchange, Agent Catherine Ross at the FBI will recommend leniency. Maybe you do 5 years instead of 25. Or, or you stay loyal to Victor, you go down with him, and you spend the rest of your life in federal prison knowing you had a chance to save yourself and you didn't take it. Cross was quiet, thinking. How do I know the evidence is real? He finally asked. Marcus pulled out his phone, played one of the emails. Victor ordering Cross to eliminate witnesses. Cross's face went pale. How did you get that Grace Morrison? Turns out she's smarter than Victor gave her credit for. Victor's going to kill her. Not if we get to him first. Cross looked at Marcus, really looked at him. Assessing, calculating. You're serious about this. You're actually going to try to take down Victor Blackwell. Not try, will. You're insane. Even with evidence, even with testimony, Victor has too much power. He'll make it go away. He always does. Not this time. Because this time it's not just local corruption. It's federal. RICO charges, systematic fraud, predatory lending targeting terminal patients. The FBI doesn't care how many judges Victor owns. They'll burn through his whole network. Cross was quiet again. Marcus could see him wrestling with it. Finally, Cross spoke. If I cooperate, I want full immunity, not leniency, immunity. I can't promise that, but I can get you in front of Agent Ross. She has the authority to make deals. And if she says no, then you're back in the same position you're in now, except you'll have tried. And that might count for something. Cross thought for a long moment. All right, I'll talk to her. But Reed, you need to understand something. If Victor finds out I'm cooperating, he won't just kill me. He'll kill everyone I've ever cared about. Family, friends, anyone. Do you have family? A sister in Portland. She doesn't know what I do, thinks I'm a security consultant. We can protect her. Federal witness protection. Cross nodded slowly. Okay, set up the meeting. Marcus called Nolan Pierce. Tell Agent Ross I have Jacob Cross. He's willing to cooperate in exchange for immunity. She has 2 hours to get here or I move him to a secondary location. Marcus, you kidnapped him. Details, 2 hours. Yes or no? Nolan sighed. I'll make the call. But this is insane. So everyone keeps telling me. Marcus hung up. 90 minutes later, 2 black SUVs pulled up to the cabin. Agent Catherine Ross stepped out. Late 40s, sharp eyes, the bearing of someone who'd climbed the ranks the hard way. She came inside with 2 other agents. Mr. Reed, I'm Agent Ross. We need to have a very serious conversation about your recent activities. After you talk to Jacob Cross, he has information that will blow your case wide open. Ross looked at Cross, still tied to the chair. Is he here voluntarily? Define voluntary, Cross said dryly. Ross smiled slightly. All right, untie him. Let's hear what he has to say. For the next 3 hours, Cross talked. He told Ross everything. The operational plans, the bribes, the violence, the murders disguised as accidents. He gave names, dates, amounts, locations. By the end, Ross's team had filled 6 notebooks. This is good, Ross said, really good. With this testimony combined with the evidence Morrison provided, we can take down the entire network. What about immunity, Cross asked. I'll recommend it to the U.S. attorney, but you'll need to testify in court against Victor Blackwell. And my sister, witness protection, we'll move her tonight. Cross nodded. Then I'm in. Ross turned to Marcus. As for you, Mr. Reed, you've committed multiple felonies, breaking and entering, kidnapping, assault on law enforcement. I should arrest you right now. But you won't. Why not? Because you need me. I'm the only one who can bring the Victor Blackwell to you. Everyone else he could see coming. But me, I'm off the board. I'm already wanted, already outside the system. I can do things you can't. Ross studied him. What are you proposing? Give me 72 hours. I'll deliver Victor Blackwell in custody, ready to be charged. After that, I'll turn myself in. Face whatever charges you want to bring. That's insane. Maybe, but it's the only way this works. Ross was quiet for a long moment. 48 hours, not 72. And I'm assigning 2 agents to shadow you. If you go off the rails, they pull you in. Deal. Ross made a call. 20 minutes later, 2 more agents arrived. Both looked former military. This is Agent Miller and Agent Torres. They'll be your babysitters. You go nowhere without them. Marcus nodded. Ross left with Cross and most of her team. Agent Miller looked at Marcus. So what's the plan? The plan is simple. We go after Victor Blackwell. How? Marcus smiled. By doing what he doesn't expect. By walking right up to his front door and knocking. Agent Torres raised an eyebrow. You're kidding. Not even a little. Grace pulled up the file on Victor's schedule. Grace opened her laptop. Victor has a charity gala tomorrow night. Annual fundraiser for St. Catherine's Hospital. Black tie, 500 guests. He'll be there with Dylan. Perfect. We go to the gala, publicly, in front of witnesses, and we arrest him. With what authority? Miller asked. With yours, your FBI. You have the warrants Ross is getting right now. You just need someone to get you close enough to serve them. And that someone is you. That someone is all of us. Me, Grace, Ethan, Kate Sullivan. We all have invitations. How? Grace smiled. Because Victor invited us. He sends invitations to everyone who's ever done business with Blackwell Financial. It's good PR. I get one every year. So does Dr. Carter. So does half the town. You're going to crash Victor Blackwell's gala and arrest him in front of 500 witnesses. Not crash, attend, legally, as invited guests. Victor won't expect it. He thinks I'm hiding, running. He thinks he's won. And Dylan. Dylan will be there too. Agent Ross can arrest both of them at once, father and son, in front of everyone they have ever known, everyone they have ever impressed with their wealth and power. Marcus leaned back. It's poetic justice. Miller and Torres looked at each other. This is the craziest plan I've ever heard, Torres said. But it might work, Miller admitted. It will work, Marcus said, because Victor Blackwell's greatest strength is also his greatest weakness, which is arrogance. He thinks he's untouchable. He thinks no one would dare challenge him publicly, but we're going to prove him wrong. They spent the rest of the day preparing. Marcus called Dr. Carter, who'd been discharged from the hospital. She was in. Kate Sullivan had civilian clothes that would pass for formal wear. She was in. Grace already had a dress from before her life fell apart. Ethan needed a suit. Marcus had Agent Miller take him shopping. Federal budget. By evening, they were ready. Marcus stood in front of the mirror. Black suit, white shirt, tie. He looked like he was going to a funeral. In a way he was. The funeral of Victor Blackwell's empire. Titan sat beside him. The most sensed something was happening. Something important. Last mission, boy, Marcus said quietly. After this, we're done. We can rest. Titan's tail wagged once. At 1800 hours, they loaded into 2 vehicles. Marcus, Grace, and Ethan in Grace's car. Kate, Dr. Carter, and the 2 FBI agents in a federal SUV. The gala was at the Cascade Bay Country Club. Exclusive. Expensive. The kind of place that screened guests at the door. But tonight they had invitations. Real ones. They pulled up to the entrance. Valets took the cars. Inside the ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet, 500 people in formal wear drinking champagne and pretending to care about charity. Victor Blackwell stood at the center of it all, holding court, smiling, the respected businessman, the philanthropist, the pillar of the community. Dylan was beside him, sober for once, trying to impress his father. Marcus scanned the room. Security was heavy, not police, private contractors, probably ex-military. 8 that he could see, maybe more. This was going to be tricky. Agent Miller appeared at his elbow. Warrants are signed. We're ready when you are. Give me 5 minutes. I need to get Victor alone. How? Watch and learn. Marcus walked across the ballroom, every step deliberate. People parted for him without realizing why. Predator instinct. He stopped 10 feet from Victor. Their eyes met. Victor's smile faltered, just for a moment, then returned wider. Mr. Reed, what a surprise. I didn't expect to see you here. I had an invitation. Yes, but given your current legal troubles, I assumed you'd be elsewhere. I've been busy, gathering evidence, talking to witnesses, building a case. Victor's smile didn't waver, but something changed in his eyes. Is that so? Your head of security was very helpful. Jacob Cross. He told us everything. The fires, the bribes, the murders, all of it. Now Victor's smile disappeared. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do, and so does the FBI. Agent Miller stepped forward. Victor Blackwell, I'm Agent Miller, FBI. You're under arrest for racketeering, fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. This is ridiculous, Victor interrupted. I'm a respected member of this community. You can't just... We can, and we are. Agent Torres appeared with handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. The ballroom had gone quiet, 500 people watching, phones out, recording everything. Dylan stepped forward. Dad, what's happening? Stay back, son. But Dylan didn't stay back. He looked at Marcus. You did this. No, your father did this. I just brought the evidence. You're lying. My father is a good man. He helps people. He destroys people, Dr. Carter said, stepping forward. He destroyed 347 families, including the man I loved most. Dylan looked at her confused. I was your mother's nurse, Dr. Carter said quietly, 39 years ago, St. Catherine's Hospital. I held her hand when she died. I saw what your father became after he lost her. I watched him turn his pain into a weapon, and I tried to stop him, but I failed. Dylan's face crumpled. My mother, she died because they couldn't afford treatment. The insurance companies... Is that what your father told you? Dr. Carter shook her head. Catherine died because the experimental treatment she needed wasn't covered by insurance. Your father couldn't afford it. He felt powerless, and he swore he'd never feel that way again. So he built an empire on making other people feel powerless, on making them suffer the way he suffered. She looked at Victor, but Catherine's last words to me were, tell Victor I forgive him. Tell him to let go of the anger. Tell him our love was enough. Victor stood frozen, handcuffs on his wrists, tears streaming down his face. I never knew, he whispered. I never knew she said that. You never asked. You were too busy being angry at the world. Dylan looked at his father. Is it true? Did you do these things? Victor didn't answer. Dad, is it true? Finally, Victor nodded. Yes, all of it. Dylan's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the floor. Why would you do that? Because I didn't want you to ever feel what I felt. That helplessness, that rage. I wanted to give you everything, make you strong, make you powerful. You made me a monster, Dylan said, his voice breaking, just like you. I'm sorry. God, Dylan, I'm so sorry. Agent Miller pulled Victor toward the door. Let's go. But Dylan stood up. Wait, I wanted to confess too. Dylan, don't, Victor started. No, I'm done. I'm done hurting people. I'm done trying to prove myself to you. Dylan looked at Agent Torres. I assaulted Grace Morrison. I harassed her for months. I've assaulted 6 other women. I'll give you their names. I'll give you everything. Dylan, please. I love you, Dad, but I can't be you anymore. I won't. Agent Torres handcuffed Dylan, too. They led both Blackwells out of the ballroom. The crowd parted, silent, shocked. Marcus watched them go. It was over. Outside, more FBI vehicles were arriving. Sheriff Monroe was being led out in handcuffs. Judge Morrison, the state legislators, the congressmen, everyone on the corruption list. The entire network was collapsing. Grace appeared at Marcus's side, tears streaming down her face. "We did it," she whispered. "We actually did it." "No," Marcus said. "You did it. You had the courage to stand up, to gather evidence, to risk everything. But you made it matter. You made them pay attention." Ethan joined them. "What happens now?" "Now we rebuild," Marcus said. "We use the restitution fund Victor's setting up to help his victims. We create something good from all this pain." Dr. Carter smiled. "The Sarah Reed Center. Grace mentioned your idea. I'd like to help." "We all would," Kate Sullivan said, joining the group. Marcus looked at them. This makeshift family, born from shared trauma and shared purpose. "Then let's do it," he said. "Let's build something that lasts." 6 months later, the Sarah Reed Center for Veterans stood on the promontory where the Victorian house had once been. New construction, modern, purpose-built, kennels, training facilities, PTSD counseling, physical therapy, everything a combat veteran needed to heal. Today was the grand opening. 200 people attended, veterans, families, press, local officials who had been cleaned out and replaced after the corruption scandal. Grace Morrison stood at the podium, director of operations. "Second chances aren't given," she said. "They're fought for. My son and I are living proof. This center exists because one man refused to accept injustice, because he fought back when no one else would." "Marcus Reed, would you say a few words?" Marcus stood, Titan at his side. The dog was 9 now, graying, slower, but still faithful. He walked to the podium. "My wife Sarah was a healer," he began. 30 years caring for people who couldn't care for themselves. When she got sick, the system failed her. It broke her spirit, and I spent a long time being angry about that." He paused. "But anger doesn't bring people back. It doesn't heal anything. What heals is purpose, community, giving the pain meaning. Every veteran who comes through this program, every dog we train, every life we rebuild, that's Sarah's legacy. That's what she died believing in. Second chances, hope, the possibility of healing even when everything seems broken." He looked out at the crowd, saw Ethan Morrison with his service dog Valor, saw Kate Sullivan now working full-time for the center, saw Dr. Carter, medical director, saw Grace smiling through tears. This center proves that broken things can be fixed. Broken people can find purpose again. And sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys win. The crowd erupted in applause. After the ceremony, Marcus walked down to the beach. Titan followed slower now, but determined. The Pacific stretched endlessly before them, gray and churning. Sarah had loved this view. Marcus pulled out the photograph he always carried. Sarah on their wedding day. Laughing. "We did it, love," he whispered. "Not the way you asked, but the best way I knew how." He felt Titan's muzzle nudge his palm. In the distance, he could see the center, lights on, activity visible through the windows. Veterans arriving for the first residential program. Dogs being matched with handlers. Life, purpose, second chances. It wasn't peace, not exactly, but it was close enough. Marcus and Titan stood on the beach until sunset, watching the waves, remembering, healing. The sun set over the Pacific. The waves kept rolling, patient, eternal. And Marcus Reed finally understood what Sarah had meant. Peace wasn't the absence of war. It was knowing what you fought for mattered. He turned from the ocean and walked back to the center, to his new life, to his purpose. Titan followed, always faithful, always there. Behind them, the sky burned gold and red. Ahead, the lights of the Sarah Reed Center welcomed them home.